Me, 45F, and my husband, 46M, have 2 sons. The older one is 21 and in college and works a part-time job on the side. The younger one is 16 and still in high school. My husband's brother has 2 sons as well who are 24 and 28. The older one is very nice and polite, but the younger one, let's call him Simon, has always been problematic since I can remember. He's a very picky eater, refuses to even bother engaging in a conversation unless he's interested in it, and would always be the one getting fussy if we go somewhere on a family gathering. He hardly ever addresses me, and whenever he used to come over whether by himself or with his brother, he barely managed to greet me. If I ask him personal questions, he shuts me down easily. However, he and my husband seem to have a good friendship and even talk on the phone once or twice a week. My husband's brother works 2 jobs and wasn't always a very present father. So Simon had attached himself to my husband even as a kid because of availability and common interests. When he was around 5, Simon even used to say he wanted to marry my husband. We all saw it as a joke and moved past it, but I found the attachment odd since then. He and my husband both like guns, hunting, video games, and the same types of music. Even cars, which is my husband's main hobby these days. A few months ago, Simon wanted to go on a hunting trip with his father, but got refused, so my husband offered to take him instead. I told him he should take our sons too, and Simon's brother, so it would be like a family bonding experience. He agreed, but apparently it didn't go well. My older son and Simon's brother didn't like it, and my younger son was on his phone the whole time and complained since the hunting grounds are further away and require a lot of walking. My husband told me this and said he wouldn't force anyone else to come if they didn't want to. But ever since then, he and Simon spend a lot of time together. They go hiking every other Sunday in the morning, and Simon often comes over to help my husband with the cars he's fixing up or play games while I'm at work. Simon only briefly greets me while oftentimes not even bothering to greet his cousins. My younger son told me he asked my husband for something, but he told him he'll do it later and then forgot about it. It upset me because I feel like he's neglecting our sons while having no issues spending time with his nephew and always talking to him on the phone. Simon seems more like a son to him than our actual sons, and it really bothers me. He claims I'm overreacting and it's not a big deal. And that he tried to spend time with our sons, but they don't seem all that interested in doing what he likes doing. I told him they're his sons and he should show more interest, but he claims I'm being too pushy and overbearing. Every time I bring it up with him, he gets annoyed.
My GF is currently being her adorable self and baking in the kitchen. She's doing her thing, with the hangover on in the background, and her favorite giant bear hoodie on. I think today she's using the Just Hood lemon bar recipe. If you don't know it, then check it out. Bloody delicious. Reminded me of this from a few years ago. GF and I work for the same company, in different areas, on different floors. This was pre-COVID. GF loves baking and sharing more than eating the stuff herself. Also, big news for those that have read my previous posts, GF has moved in. Man, I am ecstatic. GF would bring in her goods maybe 3 times a week. The head of her department, Matt, got a little tin and made a little sign, something like, if you enjoyed a treat, please leave a contribution so GF can keep baking. Then there was Karen. I go down to my GF's floor one day to talk to someone and the vibe is OFF. GF looks kinda withdrawn. People are buzzing, Matt looks furious, the treats are on Matt's desk. Turns out someone emptied the contribution tin and left a note saying the last few baked goods weren't up to par, so they emptied the tin as a form of refund for past contributions. GF had a hard night. Thought about baking something gross as revenge, got upset thinking maybe her baking really is crap, considered stopping altogether. I told her to consider stopping giving them away for free. Next day I'm called into a meeting. Most of upper management, client services, etc. We're talking about the baking and the note, and people were pissed. I'd love to say it was because GF was universally adored, as she should be, but it was mostly the bullying and how the baked goods were free for our company, but great for our morale. Matt spoke to GF and basically said if she wanted to keep baking, he'd love it, and a few colleagues had decorated an empty desk on the 3rd floor specifically for people to share their baked goods. Under a camera. Near my team. GF is a professional, but man, she almost cracked when she saw the table. I'll have to try to find a picture. The tin was replaced with a tiny padlock. Next time Karen appeared for a treat, a woman from my team jumped up and stopped her, telling her that they weren't up to par and basically told her to fuck off. More people started baking and Matt would share out the pound contributions. A picture of the table full of amazing goodies even made it to our website for a while. Karen ended up putting in a complaint about her entire floor. Apparently every time she tried leading a training session, people started telling her that her teachings weren't up to par. She tried smoothing it over, not by apologizing but by bringing in a tray of cheap donuts with a stupid sign saying that no contribution was needed, these were actually good and free. Those donuts had exactly 2 taken. One by Karen, and the other returned with 1 bite missing and a note that said not up to par. Matt even called their next team outing who's up to par tie. Apparently Karen started complaining that she was trying to inspire GF to do better, that buying her own treats was way more expensive and she needed the little treat to keep going some days. That now more people were baking, so really she'd inspired them. That she didn't know how to get past my team, who she couldn't insult and historically sucked up to. Karen tried demanding the snacks move back downstairs, but was told the note was deemed bullying and the downstairs canteen without cameras wasn't up to par. This went on until COVID hit. Fuck Karen. And my GF's baking is the tits. Edit. A few people in the comments have pointed out that I skipped over how everyone knew it was Karen. Karen was really open about having written the note. Once the baking was a bigger thing, she even started saying that her note inspired my GF and everyone else to do better, like she should be thanked for being a Karen. Bitch never admitted to stealing the thought, and I don't think anyone cared enough to go after her for it.
When I was young and dumb, I married a sponge. 8 years and 1 divorce later, I was left with a lot of sponges debt. I made arrangements with all of the direct creditors and all of the collection agencies but one. These arrangements would have allowed me to pay off all of the debt within 1 year. Now an interesting thing is that within my municipality there are 2 electric companies. This will be important later. Which one you get depends on which part of the city/county you live in. So I called the last collection agency. It was collecting on the electric bill where I had lived with my ex. At that time I was living in the other company's district. The amount due at this point was $180. Not a small amount, this was late 80s, but not a huge one. I was connected to the guy handling my account, and told him I could pay it off at $45 per month, over 4 months. He responded by accusing me of lying about my name to get electrical service. He must have been new here, and anyway, what if I'd been living with a friend? So I hung up and called back, asking to speak to his supervisor. I explained what had happened, stating that I would not speak to someone who had impugned my honesty through ignorance. The supervisor assigned me a new agent, who eventually called me. I explained to the new dude that I could pay the debt off at $45 per month, over 4 months. Or even $50 per month, for 4 months. The new agent was very polite, but told me that he could accept no less than $90 per month, for 2 months. Now, I was poised on the knife's edge, financially. I really could not afford the extra $45 per month without having utilities shut off or denying my child food, was already denying self food. So I saw a lawyer and then awaited the inevitable. When the process server dropped off the papers, they were suing to garnish my wages, asterisk, I pulled the trigger and had my lawyer file bankruptcy papers. I was allowed to do a sort of partial bankruptcy. I would pay all of my creditors 75% of the debt over a period of 5 years, asterisk, asterisk. Now here comes the petty part. I called the agent again and asked one last time if he wouldn't be able to do $45 per month. He, of course, politely said no. So then I, politely, said, okay, I've just declared bankruptcy and it turns out that you will be getting $2.25 per month. For 5 years. Wouldn't it have been better not to force me into bankruptcy? Asterisk, this was funny. The server came to my work and asked me to step outside. When we were outside, he gave me the papers and I asked him, why step outside? He explained that most of the folks he served were embarrassed. I was young and poor, hadn't thought of that. I laughed and told him that I and many of my coworkers had been gleefully awaiting this moment. Yes, I felt bad about the other creditors I had screwed. I explained to them, but not the collection agencies, that during the bankruptcy I was actually not allowed to pay them properly, but that afterwards I would, with interest. All but one declined. That one I paid, with interest.